everyone. Welcome to the official first episode of the CoachCon podcast. So today I'm joined by a guy who sees the inner workings of the fitness industry more than most. His name is Ciarán McKeever. He's a very good friend of mine. He's a fitness virtual assistant who works closely with coaches and personal trainers and other busy professionals, helping them stay organised, stay consistent and to avoid burnout. So we're going to talk a little bit about what really goes on behind the curtain, from systems to stress to mindset. So there's really something in this for everybody. So let's get straight into it. So Ciarán, for those that don't know you, who are you and what do you do as a fitness VA?
Okay guys, well first of all, man, thanks very much for having me on the podcast. Really appreciate it. So my name's Ciarán McKeever and I'm from Northern Ireland, and I basically got into the industry in 2020, qualified as a personal trainer. I have been an online coach as well. I've coached people on the gym floor, I've done check-ins, I've done all those little silly admin and operational tasks that coaches absolutely hate to death. But they're absolutely, as we both know, they are necessary, man. They keep the business running, you know, they keep the business running consistently, etc. So I basically saw an opportunity, and now I am a full-time virtual assistant for fitness professionals. And basically what I do is I help fitness professionals get back time. And when I say time, I'm talking about time that they can use to simply take a day off because they're stressed, spend time with the family, you know, focus on their own self-care. If they're in a mentorship, they can use the time to implement trainings into their business, things like that, because time is one of those things that gets away from us all, and it's the most valuable thing we have as business owners.
Massively. Yeah, definitely. I fully agree with that. And there's certainly a lot of burnout that I see when I talk to fellow coaches, and things like just the mental health, not looking after themselves, and ultimately trying to pour from an empty cup as well. So we shall get into a little bit of that as well. But something I want to know is, how did you get into all this? So work behind the scenes, and things have obviously seemed to have really took off for yourself. So do you feel you found like a gap in the market almost in this field?
I think I've basically built something that's going to create an opportunity for fitness professionals to actually get that level of support that is really going to change how they run their business and how they enjoy their business. So one of my clients is actually a really good friend of mine. His name's Ciarán Walker. He's a performance nutritionist, and he helps personal trainers and online coaches upgrade their nutrition knowledge, overcome self-doubt, and basically guarantee a result every single time. And he has had, I think, 4 VAs in the past. The service has been mediocre at best. A couple of them cost him an absolute bomb, which he did share with me recently. I was quite shocked at what was being charged for the mediocre service that he was getting. But the biggest thing that he found was the biggest issue was trust. So he didn't really trust them to run the business for him. So what I do for Callum is I actually take care of his onboarding system, and I also schedule his content and basically help him with his podcast episodes in terms of uploading them, just getting the right titles and the right description, stuff like that for him. And basically what he's able to do now, because of my support, he plays golf quite regularly. You know, he's a very avid golf player.
Brilliant.
And he enjoys playing golf. Yeah, he enjoys playing golf, and he's able to do that more often. He's travelled a lot more this year already. We're only halfway through 2025. He's already been travelling. He's been on 3 holidays already this year, whereas last year he was able to go on maybe 1, or I think it was 2 that he went on. But what he basically said to me recently was, I can go on holiday, or I can go play a game of golf, and then I could get a new client while that's happening, and I don't have to rush home to do the onboarding system. I have you doing that, you know. So that's really the difference, you know, in that he has that trust in me, that as soon as I see an onboarding, like there was one came through there literally just an hour ago. So as soon as we finish this episode, I'm going to go and I'm going to sort the onboarding for that out for him, so he doesn't have to. And that's really the difference, because how it all started, I suppose, come back to the real question that you asked, is how it all started. A good friend of mine, MJ Lennon from ECA in Belfast, that's where I qualified as a coach. So he basically needed somebody to come in and help him with part of the process for one of his events that he holds every year called the ECA Summit. And what that is basically a fitness, business and personal development event. So he brings in multiple speakers, all of different fields. You've got people talking on marketing. You've got people talking about fulfillment, programming, mindset, overcoming self-doubt, imposter syndrome, all these things that we need to know more about and we really want to implement into our business to make it the best that it can be. So he needed some help in terms of just trying to get more sales in, get more conversations started, trying to get as much interest drawn as possible. So I basically put my hand up and I said, I'm more than happy to help because I quite like things like that anyway. So he gave me what he wanted me to do, and straight away I just started problem solving. I gave him a few suggestions on how we could do this a lot better, how it would save us both time, how it would streamline a bit more, and he quite liked what I was doing. So basically, we did it for a few weeks, and then we jumped on a call, and he basically said to me, I didn't want someone to come in and just do what I told him to do. I wanted to see some initiative, some creativity. I wanted some really good ideas to streamline this sort of process. And he said that's basically what you've demonstrated to me. So since then, and that was actually a year ago this month that happened,
Wow.
which is quite cool. So a year later, here we are. Okay, so
Brilliant.
from there, Lenny basically asked me to do some work for a client of his on his business mastermind, a guy called Dylan Byrne, who's a football coach, strength and conditioning coach for footballers, and I did a bit of work for him, and they both basically said to me, what I asked them was, could I do this for other coaches? And they both, Dylan was the first to say, you would definitely be solving a huge problem because a lot of coaches I know hate doing things like this. I said, that's cool because I quite like doing things like that. And everybody asks me all the time, why do you like doing things like that? And I say to them, I don't know. I just do. That's the only answer I can give, really. So Lenny basically said to me, this is definitely a full-time thing you could build. It's a business that you would definitely be very good at. You're obviously passionate about it. You love talking to people. You love doing those sorts of admin jobs that other people hate doing. So why not? So I thought, good idea. Let's do it. So I went all in, and then at the ECS summit, I asked Lenny, could I print out some brochures and just leave them on the table maybe? And he said, I'll tell you what, why don't you get yourself a table and a roller banner and your brochures and just set up a wee stall and just have conversations with people during the breaks of the event. And I thought, okay, that's cool. So I did that, and one of the guys who was a speaker there is a lovely man called Joe Parrish. He's a fitness business mentor. He's actually, he's a bit of an OG in the fitness industry. Lovely guy. I have a lot of time for him, and I bumped into him, had a chat, and I told him I've just launched the VA business, and about a week later, he had already referred one of his clients to me, a guy called Gus, who's a videographer, mentor for fitness videographers. So that was really good. And then from there, it just sort of spiraled really. Callum then came on board. About 2 weeks after that, Joe Parrish then came on board as a client, and it was just growing quicker than I'd sort of expected. Really, it just made me think there's a huge demand for this sort of thing, because a lot of coaches, they get lost in the DMs, they get lost in all of the admin tasks, when really, their job is to coach. That is the first thing. They are a coach first. So it will get to a point where, you have to do these things yourself to begin with. Then your business will get to a certain point. Now you need time back so that you can spend more time with your clients, take on more clients, run events that you want to do, maybe offer a bit more of a one-to-one support for your clients. And in order to do that, you need to build a team. And a VA is one of the first things that you could really do with in terms of getting that time back. But the thing that I found was, and funny, Joe Parrish actually said this to me. He said there are a lot of VAs in the fitness industry, but finding a really good one is incredibly difficult. And that really, really stuck with me when he said that on our initial call. So that really made me think, right, well, this is an opportunity for me to make this, just a really different kind of support for fitness professionals. It means that they have somebody who isn't just generic and isn't just, like, generic VAs are very good at just general tasks, but when it comes to the actual fitness industry, I've lived that industry for the last 5 years. I know the ins and outs, I know what it requires. I have the awareness, and I've got clients who trust me to do those jobs for them. So, and now I was able to leave. I was working a night shift job while building this business, which absolutely destroyed me mentally and physically, but I didn't let it beat me. And yeah, back in March of this year, I handed my notice in and I left, and now I'm officially full time as a VA. So yeah, those little nuggets of wisdom just along the last year have just really, really stuck with me to make this as as good a support system as I can.
Yeah. No, I love that, mate. Brilliant. It's
I'm not quite a bit there, so I must apologise.
no, brilliant. It's all good stuff. Some brilliant things he said there, particularly at the end when you were saying you were able to like get your freedom. You know, you were able to put the notice in, walk away, and then be able to do what you're really passionate about, which is something that I feel not many people are prepared to do. They almost don't want to be putting the hours in. They don't want to maybe be taking on that full time job like you've done, especially something like night shift, to then be building the business as well. So I think that's a great lesson. And for those people that maybe want to, not necessarily even build a fitness business, but just any business, what sort of advice would you give them alongside trying to work like a full-time job or full-time night shift job, which is say more demanding? What sort of advice would you give around that for someone wanting to build a business around that?
Don't do it. Don't work a night shift job.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. Don't get me wrong. It was very challenging, and the biggest thing for me that I found as a challenge was sleep.
Yeah.
Sleep patterns were up less. So just to put it into perspective, I was starting work at 11:30 at night, working right through to 10 o'clock the next morning. Then I was coming home. I was feeding the dog. I have a wee dog here called Jax. Feeding him, then laptop open,
Yeah.
get to work. And at that stage, I maybe had about maybe a half a dozen clients to look after, maybe a wee bit more.
Yeah.
And yeah, so really I had maybe 4, maybe 5 hours to get the work done. And then I had to go to bed because I wanted to try and get my 8 hours. But as the laptop was open, I was falling asleep multiple times in front of a laptop, and I had to literally wake up, slap myself in the face 100 times, try to stay awake. And when I got the work done, I tried to go to bed, I couldn't sleep. So everything was just really up the left for me. So, um, but if I was to give one piece of advice to anybody building a business, is to look after yourself, because I didn't look after myself. I'll admit, and I'll be the first to admit it. A lot of people on that night shift job could see it. It was just plain obvious, that there was no trying to cover it up. Everybody just knew this guy is wrecked, and some people even came to me and said, "Are you okay?" And I've just said, I'm absolutely wrecked, but you got to get on with it." And that's literally what my mindset is now. There's like I was listening to the High Performance podcast when Gordon Ramsay was on it, and one of the things that he said was success needs an underlying level of jeopardy. And when I first heard him say that, I said, sometimes you hear these things and you say that makes so much sense. And when I heard him say that, it made a lot of sense, because that made me think, well, everything I'm doing now, everything I'm going through now, that's all the jeopardy, that's all the the bad hands being dealt, that's all the bad luck, streaks that are being given to you, and everybody goes through that. Even some of the clients I have now who are hugely successful in the industry, they've all went through, like one of my clients, I think was in the minus in his business. Then he found out his wife was pregnant, and then it was like, well, fuck, right, I need to make this work, So just, there's always going to be things like that, and it's really down to you to say, listen, this is just natural. This is jeopardy. This is that underlying level of jeopardy, like Ramsey said.
Yeah.
You just need to really, really go. And I'm not the type of person to let things beat me. And and I've always been like that, because I was bullied as a kid at school. I went through those hardships, and grown up with a lot of insecurities. Even into my early 20s, I still had those insecurities, and it took a long time to really overcome them. But yeah, again, these are just hardships. We're all going to be dealt them, but it's really down to us to just say, you know what, this was going to happen anyway. Let's just get on with it. The light is at the end. The light is at the end of the tunnel. There will be something to come from this, and I am living proof of that. So if you're sort of watching this and you think, well, I am going through so many waves of bad luck. Well, me too. I went through so much of it, and I think we can all agree on that there. So always have the right people behind. I mean, I'm very fortunate to have the right people behind me. I have clients who have actually helped me sort of guide me through this business, which I'm very fortunate with. So, just make sure you have the right people supporting you. Make sure that your sleep pattern is right, because these days that's the number one thing I look after is my sleep. Even though there are bags under my eyes, that's 42 years worth of no sleep.
Yeah.
No. Yes. So have the right people supporting you in your business. Look after your sleep, and just look after your general health. Move about, go take the dog for a walk. Eat the right stuff, and it'll just make things a little bit easier. Because those are the things I didn't look at. I didn't do. I didn't look after those things. I was literally night shift, home, feed the dog, laptop open, try and go to bed. It was very, very, very tough.
Sounds it. No, that's that was some great insight there, and it certainly sounds like you suffered a lot with burnout, and I imagine you see that a lot with coaches that you work with as well. So what would you say the main signs of burnout are that you experienced yourself, but perhaps with coaches you work with as well? What sort of the early signs would you say?
I think it's one of those things, well, certainly from a personal point of view, just look at what you actually want to do with your life, because like I remember there was one time when I was on, even before I was in the fitness industry, I went on my own fitness journey. I was 19 and a half stone at one point. I got myself all the way down to about 12 and a half, 13 stone. I was in great shape. I was, at that stage, this was going back maybe 10, 11 years ago. I'm pretty sure that a 1 hour full on mad boxing session was like nothing to me at that time. It was, I could just go through it. Sometimes during the breaks, everybody was sitting down or trying to catch their breath. I was still jogging, doing active recovery, and they're all looking at me going, Ciarán, stop it. Just stop it.
Yeah.
But then, on top of doing that, I was doing the martial arts, going to the gym, doing boxing. I was taking Japanese lessons because I was training in Japan as well, so I was doing that. I was active in my mum and dad's amateur dramatics group. I was in a band as well. I'm playing gigs very often. That's 8 things already I just listed there.
Yeah.
And throughout the week, so throughout that general week, there was just hardly any time to just switch off, and I basically just had to look at the priorities, right? What is getting me one step closer to my goal out of all of these things, right? Now that goes to the top of the list, and you just work down. So I basically had to look at, obviously what was financially costing me as well, that I didn't really need it at that stage because I was struggling at the time financially. So it was just literally putting the priorities in place of what is actually benefiting me and what isn't just yet, which I could maybe come back to later on down the line.
Yeah.
And that actually did. So I did start cutting things out, and that actually did start to help. And one of the things that actually helped me for this business is a year ago, I think it was maybe 2 weeks ago, was the first anniversary of me leaving my band. Actually, so a year and 2 weeks ago, I left. I actually played my last gig with the band, and I'd been with them 17 years. I didn't want to leave them, but I just knew deep down if I wanted to make this business a success and if I wanted to go all in on it, I had to cut out all distractions. So I quit. So I quit the band. I haven't seen my best mates in 2 years, right? I think I've seen one of them in that last 2 years. So I haven't seen any friends. I have no band, nothing performance or creative wise, which I like doing.
Yeah.
I got rid of all of that because that was all the distractions. As much as I loved doing them, but see, as soon as I got rid of those, and I was able to go all in, that's what made the difference. And then, but obviously the night shift then was there. That was like the next layer, if you like. So basically from there, it's like, well, I needed this night shift job. I needed to make money. But as the business grew, I was getting that little bit closer to being able to push the night shift job aside. And when that time came, I can still remember a young lad called Jack Cochran, fantastic coach. And whenever he agreed he was coming on board with me, I actually said him, just going to be honest with you, Jack. Now that you're on board with me, when I go into work tonight, I'm handing my 1 week's notice in. And he was actually he was actually really chuffed for me. He was saying, "Yeah, come on, let's go." And that just sort of lit the fire in me that made me realize I can actually now go all in on this. I just saw all the burnout. I've got rid of all the distractions, and I just pushed through it. From a business point of view, so that was all from my personal side of things. In the business point of view, when it comes to burnout, I don't even think it's burnout. I think it's like what I said before earlier is down to trust, really, because a few of my clients have been through multiple VAs, and they couldn't trust them. They were constantly repeating themselves, constantly holding their hand, constantly having to go over all the trainings again, and that causes a headache. That causes migraines, I would say. So just as soon as I built this and the awareness was out there and people were referring me, and those clients that came in now, they have seen the difference, and they have seen the difference between the generic VAs who maybe weren't doing the work, didn't understand. You can't tell them what an RPE is.
Yeah.
they're not going to know what a superset is. Whereas
Yeah.
like, okay, well, I do know. So all these little things that just matter and make that support system just that little bit more. That, and then trust just becomes the biggest thing that they really have for their VA. I would say I can trust this VA now because he's done those tasks before. He's been in the industry. He's coached people on the gym floor. He's gotten results. He's spoken to multiple people. He's been in multiple mentorships. He works with industry leaders. And he's already solving these problems. So I would say when it comes to the burnout for fitness professionals who work with me, it's just down to the trust that I can build with them, so that so those migraines just completely dissipate altogether.
Brilliant. No, I love that. So you've touched on it a lot there, and particularly your story in terms of getting to where you are now is fantastic. And I think regardless of whether you're in fitness or looking to be a coach, whatever it might be, I think we can all really take something from that. And which leads me to my next question, which is again for something that would benefit everyone. Obviously, you're in a job now where you run your own business, you're doing incredibly well, obviously clients, and that's full time for you. So now, how do you personally keep balance between the output and the rest? What's there for you now in terms of that to avoid, as we were touching on, that burnout that you've had before?
I think it's down to one thing I always do. I always visit my parents at least once a week.
Brilliant.
So even when I was burnt out, I still made that a point. Because I remember whenever lockdown was a thing, my parents were moving house, but in that time, COVID came in, everything was locked down, and they were supposed to live with me for 6 weeks as a transition period, and that turned into 6 months. So it was and it was actually, it did get to the point where my mum just wanted her own house back, and I said, look, I understand, look, I think I do too, but times are just the way they are, and but at the same time, we made the most of it. So for me, just as long as I can get to see my mum and dad at least once or twice a week, I'm walking the dog every day, and I'm actually in that position now where I can sleep properly. I can get my nutrition is back on point. I'm back training now. I just joined an MMA club there, so getting back into the martial arts again was a big thing for me because I hadn't trained in maybe a year and a half. So I put on a lot of weight in that time, and we all know as fitness professionals, when you're stressed, then your body is more likely to store body fat.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, with cortisol and everything they got there. So yeah, it's being able to get to that point where I can now fit in everything that I actually need to perform well, then
Fabulous.
just balancing that out, and just being at the point where yes, I can still perform, I can still do all of my clients' work, I can still be there when they need me, but I can also now look after myself. And so because it used to be, for me, there was a point where I just said, I don't care about myself. I just want to make my clients happy. And I think anybody from the outside looking in would probably say to me, no, you need to look after yourself first. And yes, I agree. That's just, I've just been one of them people who would just say, like, these guys are dependent on me. I'm going to look after them first, and then I can sort myself out.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So yeah, so yeah, I think there needs to be a balance in between, just having fun, spending time with family, making sure obviously you're moving, you're training, and then yeah, doing the work that's doing the work that you like doing. And I do like doing the stuff. I genuinely do. It
Yeah.
does get tough at times, but I wouldn't have it any other way, to be honest.
Yeah. No, I hear that. I mean, something that I've definitely took from you there is a principle that I try and plan in every week. So I'll always do fun, family, and fitness before I'll plan in things like, work blocks, that kind of thing. It's just getting them three things in first that set things up for the week. So regardless of if it's going to be long days or a split sort of day with work, if something like that needs to happen, I've still got things in there that I can look forward to while still prioritising myself, which certainly sounds to me like something that you've nailed, which is brilliant. So something that I'm keen to touch on with you as well. Obviously, you're working inside these businesses and not just fitness, but I know you're working with photographers, videographers as well. So you're getting a range of different things at the moment. So in terms of systems, what are some of the most common systems that coaches are missing that could perhaps help them get a little bit more organised and on top of things?
Um, I think one of the things that coaches tend to miss is just who they're actually talking to, who they're messaging, and how to actually keep track of those things. So
Yeah.
we all know as coaches, we send lead magnets, and the purpose of a lead magnet is to get somebody started in the right direction. They see the value from it, they get a little bit of a result, and then we can nurture them onto a call and try. And obviously, then from there, we get them onto a call. We give them the value of the program. We make sure it's right for them. We close them on the call, and that's it. From there, then we start changing their life. But I think I think we don't tend to see clients looking at who's viewing your stories, who is liking your content, because
Yeah.
we can also say, well, yeah, okay, so my family like your content. Okay, yeah, your family are going to support you, but there other people in there who you could message there? There's bound to be people inside there who you could be messaging, and if there is, that's fine. Your VA can. I mean, I do that for one of my clients. I look at his story viewers. I look at who likes his posts. I look at who has opted in for his lead magnets, and he basically keeps track of those things on Trello, which is a really, really good system. I recommend Trello to any fitness professional if you want to keep an eye on who had what lead magnet, who keeps viewing the stories, or who keeps putting their hand up, clicking the sticker or whatever it is. Yeah, keep tracking them. Put their Instagram handle in. Put in the date that the lead magnet was sent, and say, okay, we'll do a reply a week from today, and just make sure you put in that date, and there you are. That is going to keep that a lot more organized, and then it means if you're running the business yourself, you just go in and you say, right, who do I need to do a touch point with today, with regards to the lead magnet or the story viewers or whatever it may be, and new followers as well. Like, I mean, if you're running ads, you're going to be getting a lot of new followers.
Yeah.
So obviously a reason why those followers have followed you. They've seen something valuable within your ad. So this is something I learned from somebody I was doing work with before. That initial message is your first ever touch point. So make the most of it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
as long as they see a really, really good touch point from the very get go, that's going to start their journey going. And then from there, you have your conversation. You see what they're struggling with. You give them a few free guides, get them going, and you
Yeah.
build that trust again. Trust is the biggest thing inside your business. It's the biggest thing inside my business. Like
Yeah.
for me, like my business is built on three core values: experience, trust, and awareness. Right, but trust is for me the absolute top of the list, and that should be the same for you when it comes to nurturing your clients onto a call, or just basically helping them before you even get them onto your program. So Trello, keep an eye on who has got what lead magnet, who is constantly looking at your stories, who's constantly liking your posts. These are people who obviously need your help in some way, shape, or form, and maybe they're just afraid to reach out, which is perfectly fine, because a lot of clients who start out with a coach, they have been I know, certainly, I used to be a shy person before I took up martial arts, but that was just, again, this is just natural. So these people who need your help, they are going to be afraid to hold up their hand. So keep track of those people, and just reach out to them when they follow you. Just send them a message saying, like, listen, thanks so much for the follow, really appreciate it. Are you working towards any goals right now? See where the conversation goes and say, listen, I have a lot of free guides on this. I think would really help you out here. Here's one on how to plan your meals. Here's one on how to get your steps up, etc. And let's give that a try for the next week or so, and let's touch base next week and see how you get on. Perfect.
Brilliant. Yeah.
And yeah. I mean, these, but that's just. I just spoke there for a good couple of minutes on just one system that really makes a difference, and it is making a difference in one of my clients' businesses. It just means that I know exactly where to go to get the conversation started, if that makes sense.
Definitely. No, that's brilliant. No, I love that. The thing that I would ask as well, if someone comes to you, a coach, a professional, someone drowning in admin, someone struggling, even with the DM process that you touched on there, what would be the first thing that you would fix if someone's overwhelmed?
Well, the first thing I would ask them is, do you have a system in place that is guaranteeing that you're generating leads and generating sales? Mm-hmm. If the answer is yes, then that means that all I have to do is basically jump in and replicate that system, mm-hmm. and then that's really it. Obviously, you're still the business owner, so you still need to overlook it no matter what, and make sure everything is still going the way you need it to go. And if there's anything that needs ironed out, anything that maybe I've missed or whatever, or maybe there's a word that needs change up, which I always keep an awareness out for, then it's all down to communication from there. So, and again, I'm going to come back to the same client. His name's Taylor, an absolute top guy. I love working with him. He's a great guy. We are always in communication with each other, no matter what. If anything needs ironed out, if we have ideas on how to get the response rate up for his DMs, we're constantly working together. Mm-hmm. and that has made his business it's just made him a lot happier in his business, because he enjoys working with me. I enjoy working with him. The trust is there, and it's all good. So, I think, hopefully that answers the question. If not, ask me again.
No, brilliant, mate. No, I love that. So, slipping into mindset for a second as well. So, obviously, this is something that you've had to work on, something you see with coaches, guys like Taylor that you mentioned, obviously operating at the top level in their fields with the coaching. What mindset shifts have you made personally stay grounded and sharp in your role, and what do you see commonly with coaches as well that are at the top of the game?
That's actually a really good question. I think for me, my mindset is definitely just to get on with it. And that's in its most simplest form. That is literally it. There are going to be hard days. There's going to be things that we don't want to do, which are absolutely necessary. But my mindset is just you have to get on with it. I think that just comes back to. I remember I had a podcast a couple of years ago when I was coaching, and one of my clients, Yanni from ECA, was on it, and we were just, it was all strictly fitness related for men who wanted to get lean, strong, and confident. And one of the things he basically said, like, people ask, how do you not binge eat, or how do you not overeat? And he said, I just don't. Yeah. How do you not drink alcohol every weekend? I just don't. And he said, this is something, you get, like, everybody struggles with binge eating and stuff like that, which is one of the things that we as coaches will help our clients to overcome, and give them strategies to make sure that that sort of shift happens. But in its most simplest form, it is literally just a case of, is this going to benefit you to make this shift? Yeah, okay, well then do it. But it's really hard to binge eat. Lenny said you could psychoanalyze this until you're blue in the face, but that is literally in its most simplest form. you just, just don't do it. That's it. It is going to be hard, but your coach is there to guide you, give you the right strategies. If you follow it there, you will be successful in your journey. That is literally
Certainly.
it. So for me, and I suppose it is very plain, but it's just the way I am now. I just get on with it no matter what. And like,
Yeah.
yeah, I still have tough days. There's days when I'm swamped with work. I just get on with it, and as soon as it's done, I can relax. I can have a coffee. I can watch TV. I can take the dog for a walk. I can go see my mum and dad.
Yeah.
The work will get done, and that's really it. But I think in turn, like, but again, when it comes to other fitness professionals, again, I've already said it half a dozen times. It's trust.
Yeah.
Whenever you trust your VA, especially when you have that VA who has had the industry experience and you have the trust in them, which my clients do, then you're gonna, like Callum Walker said it himself. Um, he said Worker McKeever has legitimately changed my business, but not just the business. It's changed how I've enjoyed the business, and that goes back to what I said earlier, where he can play golf, he can go off to Bangladesh, or he was in where else was he? He was in Portugal, I think, and somewhere else. And
Brilliant.
while he was away, clients were onboarding with him, and I was doing that for him while he was still away, having a drink, having a zero alcohol beach beer on the beach.
Yeah.
So that he don't,
Certainly.
Callum doesn't drink alcohol, but he loves the taste of beer, so he goes to zero. But maybe that's a nutritionist in him. I don't know,
Maybe.
but yeah,
Maybe. No, that's brilliant. I love that. One thing I'd ask as well is obviously we know ourselves as coaches, the thing that the fitness industry loves is a hack or a trend and that kind of thing. Would you say there's anything in particular that coaches are perhaps falling for a little bit? One thing, not to sort of give you ideas, but one thing that springs to my mind is the obsession with income with coaches. Coaches seem to get hung up on wanting to move to Dubai. I noticed that a lot. They want to make all this money, and I think it comes away from sort of helping folks a little bit. Would you say that that's kind of one of the things you see a lot of?
it's a buzzword in the industry now, mate.
Yeah,
That 10K month, it's a buzzword now.
yeah,
And there aren't many. Like, I think if I was going to put it into a field within the industry, it's the mentorship side of things. A lot of the mentorships are they seem it's almost as if they come across a bit diluted, and there's not many who actually give that that service. Like one, I'll not mention names, but there
no,
is
certainly
one
not. No,
which I think is no, which is really, I think is really, really authentic. And what this person does is they don't, there's been absolutely no mention of 10K, 20K, 30K months. It's literally going back to the basics and saying, here's what you do, here's what people need to see more of. They need to see more of you because they buy from you. People buy from people, and it's just all of those little lessons those little lessons within the lessons that just make a whole lot of sense. And it took for me to experience that to really go, you know what, that's the kind of people that I need to have around me if I was still coaching and I needed to build, a business that I loved.
yeah,
So it's like, don't chase. It's very easy for people to say, don't chase the money. Okay, we all need to make money. But what are you actually chasing? You're chasing a business that you actually want to wake up and love
yeah,
every day. Because we were all like, I was born in the '80s, and what I got for years was, Ciaran, nobody likes their job. It doesn't matter who you speak to. Everybody hates their job, and I always refused to believe that. I refused to believe that. And then it was only whenever I started with my coach. His name is Matthew McMahon, fantastic coach. He was my coach when I started my fitness journey, and I'm still friends with him to this day. He's a fantastic guy. I have a lot of time for him, and I saw him extremely happy in what he was doing. Like, he was
yeah.
coaching people on the gym floor. He's extremely good at what he does. He's actually now a fitness uh, consultant and trainer for the fire service in
Oh
Northern
wow,
Ireland, believe it or not.
that's
Yeah, so Yeah, it was another job that he always wanted to do. He thought, yeah, okay, he's still an online coach, but he also does this. And now, because of his background, he's been able to bring that fitness experience into the fire service now, which is absolutely fantastic, and I'm chuffed to bits for him.
Certainly.
You know, so, but I always refuse to believe that there's not a job out there for everybody that they can wake up and absolutely love doing.
Hmm.
So, I loved coaching. I absolutely did. I loved it there, and I do miss it, and I will eventually get back to it, I'm sure. But
Hmm.
what I do right now, I also love it because I get to work with coaches who love their business,
Yeah.
and who I love working with, and who obviously I've built trust with, I've built relationships with, and that's what I want to do until I go for my tea, as we say in Northern Ireland.
Yeah. No, that's brilliant, Kane. We've got a stack of value from you today, and definitely this is one for people wanting to build businesses, but certainly for coaches and folks even wanting to get into this line of work as well, coaching and that kind of thing. So before I wrap this one up, in terms of one thing that you could give in terms of what would you say to perhaps an aspiring coach, one habit that you would give to perhaps an aspiring coach?
One habit that I would give to an aspiring coach. Look at your circle. Make sure that the people you're surrounded with are the people who will help you build your business. If you and I can't stress that enough, because if you're still hanging about with your mates who are drinking at the weekend all the time, constantly do this, that, and the other, which makes absolutely no difference, doesn't get you any closer to your business, you're going to stay stuck there. We've all heard this, the saying, you're the average of the five people you hang out with.
Mm.
I truly believe I truly believe that. I used to think it was just an idle wives' tale, but
Yeah.
it is true. I mean, if you constantly hang about, well, like if you hung about with four business mentors, right? That's five people within a group. Eventually, you will become just as good as them. You
Hmm.
will be constantly hearing nuggets of value from them. You're going to put them into your business. You're going to make a lot of money. You're going to go back and you're going to ask for feedback, and they're going to give you the feedback. They're going to tell you how to do it better, what went wrong, what could have been done better, and those lessons will just build up. And it's going to be hard. It is going to be hard no matter what. But like I say, and this is always my mindset now. You just have to get on with it, because it will eventually come to fruition. And I know I've said this a few times, but I am living proof of that. It's like I've been in the industry 5 years. That's 5 years of brutal torture and
Hmm.
burnout, no sleep. Like literally scraps of sleep. I was maybe getting an hour or two a night working night shift, then
Yeah.
doing a 10.5 hour shift, which was absolutely brutal.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I wasn't getting to train. I wasn't getting to do the martial arts, and I haven't seen any of my best mates in a very long time.
Mm.
It's very, very real. But yeah, there you go.
Certainly.
So surround yourself with the right people, and make sure that you soak up every bit of value you can from them, and do the work. Implement what you're being told. Don't just write it into a book and then throw the book out, or
Yeah.
set it up on top of the shelf. You need to implement it, and that's exactly what I did. I was told when I started this business, you don't need social media.
Yeah.
Do a really good job for these clients, and they will refer you, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
And I got that from people who they do know each other, but this was told at different times. So I think, and if they're saying that to me at different times, I'm going to go with that, and I completely trust them. So and yeah, that's just the proof of when you have the right people supporting you, you will do well.
Certainly. No, I love that, mate. That's brilliant. Is there anything you would have done differently with getting into this industry and obviously doing what you do now? Is there anything you perhaps change or do, as I say, a little bit different?
Um, I think I just would have invested. I would have invested elsewhere. I think, if I'm being honest, like I did when I qualified as a coach, I did invest in courses, but now those courses, I don't use them. They were for a completely different mission at the time.
Yeah.
But I just think it would be, for me, I would just be saying, right, let me get clear on who I actually want to help, and who are the people I need to have around me to make that happen. I think that's
Fabulous.
what I would have done. I was very much, I had loads of ideas. I had too many ideas, and then I went, right, here's an idea, I'll buy this course. Here's an idea, I'll buy this course. There's too many of them,
Yeah,
And now,
streamline a bit.
yeah, 90% of those courses have absolutely no bearing on my business now. They were
Yeah.
just courses I invested in. So yeah, I just think just make sure you get really clear on who you want to help, the business that you want to build, and yeah,
Yes.
certainly, there will be an opportunities down the line like this. Like what I created now was an opportunity for me, and now I'm giving that opportunity to coaches now, so that they can get back that time, so that they can then go away, build a business, take on more clients, get more time back, spend with the family, etc. So yeah.
Fabulous. And finally, Ciarán, where can people find you, reach out, work with you, get help with the systems, the business? Where is best?
Yeah, okay. So you can follow me on Instagram. So my handle is at Ciaran McKeever _FitProVA. I'm actually offering a 6-week trial at the moment for anybody who is interested to see what it's like working with me. I do have a couple of documents which outlines all of the packages involved, the investment, how many hours are involved each month, a little bit about me, who I work with, my experience in the industry, just so you know exactly the support you're getting. So yeah, you can follow me on Instagram, and if you want a copy of those to see what's involved, more than happy to send them out.
That's fabulous. I'll be sure to pop that in the description below as well. Ciarán, I appreciate your time, mate. Some absolute gold in that. To everyone listening, if this episode gave you something to think about, some food for thought, then share it, tag us, drop us a follow. Don't forget, the full CoachCon guest lineup is coming soon, and we shall see you in the next one. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you.